The time I humbled a high school bully and became a legend in the process. We're going to skip the intro for today's video because I don't know how long this story will be. As you guys know, I tell these stories in graphic detail. I like to paint a picture so that you feel like you were there along for the experience just as I was. So, for those of you that have been with me for some time here on the channel, you know that I am from originally Southeast DC. Now, some of you may have never experienced Southeast DC, but I can tell you for sure it is not an area where you want to grow up as a child. Southeast DC is lower middle class. It is filled with a lot of different gangs. Scratch that, not gangs, hoods, territories, sets. You have different neighborhoods that have certain reputations for being problematic. Okay, certain neighborhoods that have increased police activity because they're problematic. All right. Now, growing up in Southeast DC, I went to all of my neighborhood schools. I went to the neighborhood elementary school that was right next to my apartment complex. I went to, and after I graduated sixth grade, I went to the neighborhood junior high school, is what it was called when I went. Yeah, I was scheduled to go to the neighborhood high school as well. So let me get into that just for a second. When I went to elementary school was grades pre kindergarten to grade six. After you graduate or finish grade six, you graduate from elementary, you move on to junior high school, which is what it was called when I attended. Now, junior high school was grades seven, eight, and nine. And once you completed the ninth grade, you have another graduation ceremony, and then you move on to high school. Okay. High school was grades 10, 11, and 12. Okay. After I graduated elementary school, I went on to junior high school. My junior high school was located on Mississippi Avenue. It's called Charles Hart Junior High School. Okay. Now, Hart Junior High School on Mississippi Avenue has a lot of different hoods that are around it. You have Valley Green down the street, Condon Terrace down the street and up the corner. You have Trenton Park right up front of you. Congress Park is down the street and around the corner. You got 6th Street, Chesapeake Street, Full Street, Atlantic Gardens. You have all of these hoods that surround Charles Hart Junior High School. And because it's the neighborhood school, a lot of people who attended the school were from these hoods. What did this mean? For me, this meant that I had to fight a lot, like a lot. Even though I was on the 6th and Chesapeake Street side of Southeast, I was not a part of any of these hoods. I was not getting into any of that type of stuff. That wasn't my lane. You know what I mean? I'm always been somewhat of a lone wolf, and that's actually the way I prefer it to be. Okay, because of that, I had to fight a lot. You know what I mean? If you were not involved with one of the hoods, then you had to fight a lot. That meant no protection from other people in that hood. You're on your own. You got to handle all of it on your own. You may not have to deal with people from your hood because they're familiar with you, but in terms of other hoods, you got to deal with that on your own. And that's actually the way that I preferred it. Okay. Fought a lot in junior high school. A lot. Okay. At the end of junior high school, um, I completed the ninth grade. I had my graduation ceremony, and it was time to be off to high school later on that year, in the fall of that year. My neighborhood high school would have been Ballou Senior High School. This is also located on 4th Street. And once again, it's just down the street and around a corner from the junior high school that I attended. The problem with this is that it's still in the neighborhood, so it's the same people going to this school. A lot of the same people from the same hoods that I mentioned earlier are attending Ballou Senior High School. But then there's an added element to this. Okay, in Southeast DC, once you make it to junior high school, there is no There is no school provided transportation, okay? So there is no school bus that you have to catch to get to school unless you're one of the kids who lives on a military installation. There's a school bus that comes to a bus stop, picks all of those kids up, and it brings them to their schools. Or if you're in like special education, there's a school bus that will pick those kids up and bring them to the school. But if you're in DC, honestly, you can attend any junior high school, any high school that you want to attend, neighborhood school or not. It's just a matter of whether you had the money to pay for your transportation to get there. Okay. Now, with Baloo Senior High School being in the middle of all of these hood areas, all of these territories, and added to the fact that there are other people who live in neighborhoods like Bury Farms and Sursum Quarters, Lincoln Heights, all these different places, Clifton Terrace throughout DC, they can also access this school if that's the school that they chose to attend. And it's very common for people to do that. So on top of the the hoods that are around the neighborhood that are already enrolled in the school because it's their local school, you have people from other hoods throughout DC that can also attend this school. This gives it an increased, it creates an increased environment of tension, of drama. um, for those of you that don't know, DC has an era of music that is kind of our own, called go-go music. Okay, now go-go music is basically band music, where you have a band that comes together, they play instruments, pure percussion type instruments, and it's designed to emulate the crowd and get the crowd to get sized up. A large part of go-go is a lot of these rival hoods, they'll come to the go-go, and the band, whoever it is on the mic, has a tendency of calling out different hoods that they recognize are participating in this, well, not performance, but there to support the performance. Okay, so they may call out Lincoln Heights, or they may call out Bury Farms, or they'll call out something. They'll call out your territory, and when your territory is called out, usually you'll respond and try to make the most noise to let people know that you're in the house. This oftentimes results in violence. Okay, there have been brutal beatings, fights, brutal beatings, shootings. There have been murders over something as simple as whose neighborhood represents the best. Okay, just to give you a picture of what I was expecting going into Baloo Senior High School. Okay, it's almost like the same atmosphere, but it's in an educational building with a lot less security, so which actually makes it a little bit worse. I can remember being in junior high school, and I can remember there was a fight that took place at Baloo Senior High School while I was present. While I was in junior high school, it was a school day, and basically this fight was so big it took place between two guys in a cafeteria. Two guys in a cafeteria from different hoods. They got into it, and when they got into it, other people from each one of those hoods who were there in the school made their way to the cafeteria so that they can participate in this fight. Then they got on their phones and they started calling people that were back in the neighborhood to come down to the school to participate in this fight. And it turned into this big ass brawl that encompassed not only the campus of the school and the inside of the building, but it also spilled down to Mississippi Avenue and towards the junior high school where I was located. To give you an idea of what Baloo Senior High School was, it was very much like Fair East Side High. For those of you who have ever seen a movie called Lean on Me, it was very much like that prior to the new principal getting there. Okay. Now, when I graduated from junior high school, it was ninth grade. I was supposed to go to Baloo Senior High School. My mother, who did graduate from Baloo Senior High School, recognized that, nah, this is not the place for you. You fight way too much. And I did fight a lot in junior high school. Like I said, I was a loner. I was not a part of any crew, any set, any hood. So I didn't have the protection of that hood. You know what I mean? So I had to do everything on my own. I fought a lot, a tremendous amount, and she recognized that. Because she attended Baloo, she knew that you're not going to Baloo Senior High School. You got one time to fight one of them boys in Baloo Senior High School. Whether you win, lose, or draw, them boys are not going to keep fighting you because I know you. You're the type that if you lose, you're going to try to fight that person again. You can't just let it go. I can tell you now, them boys in that school will kill you. You're not going to Balus in your high school. So in June of that year that I graduated from junior high school, that was the same year that they decided to change the structure of junior high school and high school. And they added ninth grade to high school and they added sixth grade to junior high school. So when I went to high school, I was never a freshman. I went to high school as a sophomore. Okay. It was at that point in time, that same year that I graduated, we ended up moving to, I want to say Accokeek, Maryland, which is located in southern Prince George's County, Maryland. It's close to Waldorf. Okay, it was close to Charles County, I believe it's called. We ended up moving to Accokeek, Maryland, and I ended up going to a school called Gwynn Park High School. Okay, now I had about a month after we got settled into our place in Accokeek to be prepared for school. During that month, I met this young lady by the name of Rachel, and I'm pretty sure you guys know that when you are the new guy or girl in a neighborhood, you're the new face. If you're even remotely attractive, all the people who have been living in that neighborhood who are your age are, you seen a new girl, you seen a new guy, you know what I mean? What you think they look like, blah, blah, blah. And that sun just got really bright. I'm sorry about that. Let me see what this does. It helps out a little bit. Yeah, so that's typically what'll happen. So I meet this young lady. Her name is Rachel. Rachel, I find her attractive. She's not. No, I'm lying. Rachel was bad as shit. Obviously there was a magnetic attraction towards each other. I'm the new guy there, so I'm looking to figure out who the girls are in the neighborhood. She peeped me, and she saw me actually before her girlfriend did, who lived across the street from her, and she was like, "Yo, I'm trying to see what's up with him." And they would make their way, make sure they walked past my house just to get a good look at me, right? Rachel and I end up talking, and we end up building somewhat of a bond um, to be prepared to go into high school in a relationship. You know what I mean? Which was, I mean, maybe quick, but it was cool. We had like a month to really get to know each other. We made the decision we wanted to try this boyfriend girlfriend thing. First day of school comes. Okay, now Gwynn Park, their school colors, because their mascot is the yellow jacket. Okay, now the yellow jacket's colors were black and gold. Me, me trying to be uh trying to be trying to take some initiative. I figured on the first day of school I was going to wear the school colors. All right. First day of school, mind you, is the end of August or early September. I think it's the end of August. Right. I go to school. First day of school, I decided to wear a button up collared shirt, long sleeve button up collared shirt that was gold, like mustard in color. Right. Bad idea. Need to say this was a terribly bad idea. All right. Everybody else there that is in my age bracket, they're wearing, t-shirts, sweatpants, sneakers, just the usual stuff. But I decided that I wanted to, like I said, do something different. And yeah, that put somewhat of a label on me in high school. Okay. Now, I can remember going through school and a lot of people kind of giving me this look like, what the fuck is this guy got on? Like, what mustard yellow button up collar shirt? It was ridiculous, right? Now, you have to walk down to go to your now in high school at the time there's like homeroom assignments that you have to go to before you're dismissed to go to your first period, second period, and all of that kind of stuff. So on my way to my homeroom I had to figure out where my locker was because I had my locker assignment. I had to figure out where that was. It was over near the gymnasium, so I had to figure out where that was at just so I knew where it was. Not that I had planned on using it on the first day, but I just wanted to know where it was. And then I come down this hallway, which is bringing me back towards the front of the school. The gymnasium is in the rear. So I'm coming down a lateral hallway that takes me towards the front of the school where my homeroom class was. Okay. Now, coming down this hallway, once you get about halfway through this hallway, there's this gauntlet that you got to walk through. These upperclassmen, okay? They're juniors and they're seniors. And they stand on each side of the hallway, right? You got to walk through this gauntlet. And what they would do as upperclassmen is just Joan, haze, bed, roast, cook, whatever words you guys use in the area where you are. This is what they would do. So these guys would come to, or actually, they would stand in the center of the hallway, and then when you come through, it was their job to cook you. They didn't give a shit what you were, who you were. They were going to cook you when you came through. Now comes through me, wearing a mustard colored shirt. These guys started frying me, obviously. I mean, I didn't make a big deal out of it initially, um, because I didn't realize that it was going to be as bad as it was. But it was a lot of, man, what the fuck is this nigga got on, man? This motherfucker wearing a gold colored shirt. This Bama ass nigga. Da 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 da. Pause. Now, for those of you who don't know what a Bama is a term. It's slang term in the D.C. and the Southern Prince George's County area. It is it's derogatory. Obviously, it is an adjective, and it basically means that you have no sense of fashion or no sense of style, and or you behave in a manner that is not acceptable by the general population. Okay, it can mean one of the two things. So if somebody calls you a Bama, it is generally a bad thing. Okay, it is something that you don't want to be called. This guy calls me. He's like, man, look at this Bama ass nigga with this gold mustard colored shirt on. Da, 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 da. What the fuck is he got on, man? This nigga look like he about to go on a hot dog or some shit like that. And I kind of turned around and looked at the guy like, cause mind you, at the time I'm a hothead. I turn around and I look at the guy and I'm like, what, nigga, what you say, nigga? Now, first day of school, so there is a sea of students trying to find their homerooms and moving down the hallway. So even though I stopped and kind of turned around, like I was looking at them, like I was ready to engage, there's like, I don't know, it seemed like dozens, hundreds of students behind me still moving in one direction. So it's kind of, even though I'm like looking, trying to stop, their movement is still trying to kind of forcing me forward, like, go, get out the way, blah 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 blah. So, you know what I mean? I said something, but it wasn't received because I couldn't stand there and keep going with this guy, which was probably probably the best type scenario. I get to my homeroom class. I make a couple friends in there. One of the kids' names was Keon. And I remember Keon telling me, he like, bro, yeah, I've been here last year. He was like, yo, I saw you in the hallway about to get into it with those guys. He was like, man, don't pay those guys attention, man. They do that every day. They do it to everybody. It's probably not anything personal. You know what I'm saying? We all go through that. It's kind of like what they do as upperclassmen while we're underclassmen. Though it was kind of crazy that you actually turned your attention to him. He's like, you must be new here. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, where you from? I'm like, I'm from Southeast DC. It's my first year out here in a school in Prince George's County in Maryland at all. Then he was like, oh, you from Southeast? Mind you, at the time, for whatever reason, there was this war between Prince George's County and Southeast when it came to schools. Like the students who were from uh, Prince George's County took issue with anybody who was from DC. I don't know why. I think it's because it was during a time in music where Tupac and Biggie were going against each other. So it was East Coast versus West Coast. So maybe the children just wanted to have something that was similar to that. I don't fucking know. I was totally unaware to this. So anyway, he was like, okay, cool. We go through the rest of the school day, which was basically just going through your classes or through the classes that you were scheduled on that particular day. And while you're in those classes, you're just making an introduction with the teacher, what the topic's going to be, who's in the class with you, telling people a little bit about yourself. Okay. End of the school day, when school is dismissed, everybody goes out to the buses to the front of the school or the parking lots where the buses pull up. Now, the buses were assigned to take you back to the neighborhood where you were. Well, the buses drove certain routes, okay, and they would stop at bus stops to let you off at the neighborhood where you were scheduled to. I mean, where they picked you up from in the morning, okay, so you can get back home. So I'm waiting out there. I'm fully expecting I'm going to see Rachel. This is my girlfriend, obviously. I'm going to see her because we live in the same neighborhood. Um, while I'm standing out there waiting, Rachel, she comes out and she has her friend Nikki with her. All right. They're walking together, but they're kind of standing at a distance from me. Right. Now, I notice they're kind of huddled up, and Rachel and Nikki, they keep kind of looking at me, and then they'll kind of start giggling, like, then they'll look at me again, say whatever they're saying to each other, and look. So I'm just like, oh, okay, there go my girl right there. Let me go holler at her. So I go walking up to her. Nikki steps off. Rachel is kind of like still like half smiling. I'm like, yeah, what's up, babe? What's going on with you? And she like, hey. And then I got my arms open for a hug, and she's kind of like hesitant about giving me a hug. She slowly leans in and kind of gives me one of those, I want to call it like a little boy hug, because it was not the type of hugs that we were used to giving each other back in the neighborhood, right? And she was like, so what's up with the shirt that you got on today? And I'm like, what, you don't like my shirt? And she was like, nah, I don't I don't I don't think anybody here at school today likes your shirt. And I was like, damn, I thought this joint was gonna be all right for the day. She's like, nah, you know that Tommy Hilfiger shirt you wear? She's like, with the yeah, she's like, yeah, you should wear that shirt tomorrow, okay? And kind of patted me on the chest, like, you know what I mean? And it was like, damn, I kind of felt a little, I don't know. I don't know if I want to say embarrassed, but I definitely felt something about that. Now, at this time, everybody who was wearing designer at school was wearing, like she said, Tommy Hilfiger, Nautica, Polo, Ralph Lauren, Donna Curran, Eddie Bauer. Um, these were the clothing lines. These were the designer things that people were really wearing at that particular time. So she wanted me to wear something that was more along those lines, because that's what most of the other students of my ethnicity were wearing. The thing I liked about Gwynn Park, now that I'm getting into ethnicity, is that it was a multicultural, multi-ethnicity school. So I mean, there was kids that were of the same ethnicity as me. There were Caucasian kids, Latino kids. There were Asian kids there. There were, I think they had a couple of foreign exchange students too, that were like Middle Eastern or something. So I liked it for that particular reason. The diversity was cool. However, that didn't excuse that mustard yellow shirt that I wore that day. And as a result of that mustard colored shirt, when Rachel and I were on the phone later on that night, we ended up breaking up. Um, and it was, to my understanding, she didn't exactly say this, but she was basically like, there was another guy there that she had been wanting to talk to since middle school, and he's now available and interested in her. That's what she told me. But I know the real reason is because of that mustard colored shirt, and the fact that people throughout the school all day long were probably talking about this particular shirt and who the hell this clown is wearing this shirt. And in high school, people do not want to be associated with somebody who has any type of negative stain on their reputation, okay, because they feel like it's going to rub off on them. So Rachel and I ended up breaking up. Um, I wasn't that quarreled about it, because I was at a new school. I know I'm an attractive guy, and I was seeing a lot of attractive young ladies, particularly in my homeroom class. There was this young lady named Latoya Knighton. Okay, I don't know why she reminded me of like Stacy Dash and Clueless. Like, she was bad. Like, anyway, I'm getting beside the point. But anyway, I'm seeing a lot of attractive girls there, girls that I know find me attractive, girls that I know I'm going to have an opportunity to get to know, to talk to meet, to hang out with at some point during this school year. So Rachel and I break up. No big deal. I go back to school the next day, and this continued on my regular routine for, probably went about another month and a half. And my routine was basically, we would pull up at the parking lot. Buses would let us off. We would go in through the, like, kind of like a side door where a cafeteria was, walk down the back hallway to my locker, get whatever books I need for that particular day, because we had different subjects each day, and then make my way to my homeroom. That was my routine every day upon my arrival, right? But I'm looking around the school for this during this time period, and I'm noticing there are guys in there that are like these, other sophomores, juniors, seniors, that are significantly larger than me. Like, they're more filled out with me, more filled out than me. You know what I mean? They're some of them have like facial hair, like full beards, like I have now. Not this thickness, but there were guys in there that had full beards, and I'm just like, damn, I'm seeing all these new attractive girls. What chance do I stand getting to these girls when you got guys around here that look like men? You know what I mean? I still very much look like a fucking 15-year-old. I mean, yeah, I had a little mustache and maybe like sideburns, but I still looked very much like a 15-year-old. So I'm like, I got to do something. Okay. Something that's going to make me little bit more, excuse me, distinct, stand out a little bit more. I got it in my mind to start doing something that I was copying from one of my favorite characters in a fighting video game called Mortal Kombat. Okay, if you guys know, Mortal Kombat was very popular in the early to mid '90s. Okay, very popular. My favorite character in the game is Johnny Cage. Okay, so Johnny Cage, his gimmick is he always has on sunglasses. Okay, I guess it's a representation of how cool he is. Okay, so I got it in my mind that I'm going to start wearing sunglasses to school every day, all day, throughout school. I don't care. This is what I'm going to do to be distinct and different from these guys that have facial hair and all these other things. This is how I'm going to get myself noticed. As if that mustard colored shirt didn't have me noticed enough, right? So one day I'm leaving out to go to school. I grab a pair of aviator sunglasses and I said, okay, I'm going to put these on. This is me. You know what I mean? I put them joints on and get on a bus. Nobody's thinking anything of it because, there was some sun outside. Nobody's thinking anything of it. I get to school and that's when I kind of came to realize, I'm like, damn, how am I going to make this work? Because there are no windows in the school. Like the only windows are the cafeteria, the stairwell, the gymnasium. None of the classrooms have windows in them, right? How am I going to make this work with sunglasses on? But then I said, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to do it. And now, obviously, we had certain staff like, sir, you got to take the sunglasses off and this and that and the other. I'm like, man, I'm gonna make up a reason to keep these motherfuckers on just to say this thing. I'm like, you know what? My eyes are sensitive to light. There's too much light in here. Like, sir, what light? There's no sun. There's no windows in here. I'm just like, look. I'll get a doctor's note to show you. You know what I mean? But I can't take them off because I'm just making up some shit just to keep these glasses on so they wouldn't keep saying shit to me, right? Obviously, this worked. This actually gave me a little bit of distinction. All right. People came to recognize me as they would call me things like shades. Some people were saying like Kumo D stuff. Like I don't even know. I know who Kumo D is, but I don't know if he had anything to do with sunglasses. Maybe they just associated shades with being cool. I don't fucking know. But it worked. It didn't increase my reputation, but it did make me stand out. Like people knew who I were. They were like, oh yeah, he got the sunglasses on. We know you talking about. You talking about shades. You talking about whatever. Anyway, I end up meeting this young lady in my second period class, art, Mr. Samples class. Her name was Latoya. And Latoya took a very strong liking to me. Now, I'm not sure if it had anything to do with the sunshades or if it just had anything to do with my natural looks, but I think she appreciated the fact that I was different than everybody else there in the school. And Latoya, in my opinion, was more attractive, more my speed than Rachel was. Like Rachel came off like a hot girl. I remember being turned off at Rachel telling me that she had only recently, at the age of 14 or 15, only recently lost her virginity, but ended up sleeping with like five different dudes over the course of the same summer that she lost her virginity. I was just like, holy shit. You know what I mean? I remember being turned off slightly by that. But Latoya was more my speed. She's originally from California somewhere. I think like Sacramento, California. So maybe what she was seeing in me more so was what she was used to from the area where she was or where she grew up at. Okay. So end up meeting her. We exchanged numbers. We end up like really, really kicking it off and bonding incredibly strongly, incredibly quickly too. Like, and I to this day, I would probably admit that Latoya was my very first like high school love, like puppy love kind of thing. Like she was that particular person for me. Okay. So anyway, she and I meet, we're talking, we're chopping it up, we're having a good time. Now, because this is my girl now, we've made that decision to be involved in a relationship. Now I make it kind of like I have to add this to my routine. So it's not just go to school, go into the school, go to your locker, and then go to your homeroom class. After walking through this hallway gauntlet of upperclassmen hazing you, it was now come into the school, and what I would do is I would go upstairs to where her locker was. We coordinated this, and I would go upstairs to where her locker was, kind of just to meet her, greet her for the day, give her a hug, give her a kiss, hold hands with her, walk her to her class, give her another hug and a kiss. and then see her to her class before I would go, on my own routine. Is what we started doing like every morning, right? So it comes one morning where I come into the school, I go up to her locker, which we had already discussed the night before. I'm gonna see you in the morning, and I get to her locker and I see this guy. He's standing there like leaning against the locker, but this guy looks different than most other students, right? Like he's got this really like thick neck. He's got these thick glasses on, this kind of creepy grin. Um, and he's short. He almost looks like a minion of some kind, right? He's like leaning like against the locker, and he's like trying to like talk to her. Now she's going in her locker, getting her books, sorting all her stuff out, and it's kind of like she's not paying him any attention, but she's not trying to be like super rude about it. So I see this now. Obviously, in high school, you're going to be somewhat protective over the person that you're with. So I kind of continue to approach when I see this, and I just stand right behind the guy, right? Um, and I say to her while he's talking, whispering, whatever the fuck he's whispering, I'm like, "Yeah, what's up, baby?" And then she looks up and she kind of's like, "Oh, thank God." I can, you can kind of see the sigh of relief. And then she turns to me and she's like, "Hey, what's up?" And then that's when the guy, he kind of like looks to his left and then kind of looks and turns around and sees me standing there. Obviously, he's familiar with the fact that she always sees her with me, right? A lot of guys throughout the school would make it their habit to try to speak negatively about me to her, to try to, I guess, persuade her from speaking to me so that they can increase their chance of talking to her. But I think that only helped her want to stay with me because she saw how many guys couldn't stand the fact that she was talking to me. So this guy knew, he was fully aware of that. Everybody in the school knew who I was as a result of the sunglasses, and everybody knew who she was as a result of her being my girl. You know what I mean? It was kind of like we were an item. We weren't like the most popular, but we had enough clout simply because of the decision I made to wear these sunglasses, right? So this guy turns around, he looks at me, and you can see he's startled at the fact that he sees me. So he quickly moves out of the way, and I just kind of stare at him while he's like stepping off. And I noticed that his features, like I said, the thick neck, he actually, I think this kid had Down syndrome in some kind of way. There was something that was off about his physical appearance. Okay. Now I had recognized him because I'd seen him around the school before because he was one of the few people in the school that had a twin brother. His twin brother also, I mean, they're identical twins. So his twin brother also has Down syndrome, also has the exact same look as him, like thick neck, kind of stubby neck, creepy grin. They both wear these really thick bifocal glasses, and I noticed that and I was just like, oh, okay, that's why he looks the way that he looks, right? He steps off and he kind of walks away with his fist balled up like he's trying to, I don't know, maintain his emotions. It wasn't like he was gonna do anything to me, but I could tell that he was upset about the fact that he had been cut short from being able to talk to her, I guess. Anyway, I give her a hug, give her a kiss, hold her hand, walk her to class, the usual routine. It's gonna be what it is, you know what I mean? I'm a routine kind of person. I take her to class. What I didn't know was these two twins, particularly the one who was talking to my girl, they were from some neighborhood in Prince George's County called Morningside. And I do believe Morningside is located somewhere like in Camp Springs or Clinton, somewhere around that area. I don't know. Like I said, I'm from DC. I don't know much about any of these neighborhoods or hoods that are here in Prince George's County, Maryland at the time, right? But that's where they were from. Now Morningside had their own little hood, and they had a set group of them that were in the school. Okay, and like I said, once you're in that hood, if you're a part of the set, then they kind of make sure that they protect you, defend you. If you're not a part of that set and you're simply like like these kids were, then they at least kind of aid you at your time of need. This guy, he goes back to some of the people that he knows from Morningside and he expresses to them, hey, you know what I mean? I was trying to talk to this girl and this dude like interrupted me while I was talking and I couldn't say what I needed to say to her. Now, let's be clear. He had no chance of getting with my girl. But one of the things about people who have like those kind of conditions, is they're very hyper focused on an objective, and they get it in, and they're not able to intelligently process emotions and reality of those emotions. Okay, he tells some of the other guys from Morningside that, Shades, which is what they were calling me, he interrupted me while I was trying to talk to this girl. You know what I mean? And the guys are like, "Well, I tell you what, tomorrow you gonna go talk to that girl again. Only this time, one of us is gonna be there to make sure that he don't interrupt you." So the next day, or later on that night, I told to my girl. Obviously, me and Latoya, we're on the phone and we're talking about what's up with Buddy, like trying to talk to you. Like, what was he even saying? And she was like, "Man, I don't know. He was determined to try to give me his number, or to try to get my number, talking about how pretty he thinks I was and all of that mess." Like, I was doing my best to like ignore him, but some of the stuff was kind of funny. So every now and then I might kind of halfway laugh, like, what the fuck is he even talking about? But yeah, that's all that was. And I was like, yeah, I don't know what was up. I was like, you think he was pissed off when I like stood behind him and spoke to you, and then he like walked off? She's like, yeah, he was mad, but I mean, he wasn't gonna do nothing about it, obviously. Next day, use your routine. Get off the bus, come into the school, go up to the second floor, find my girl's locker. And as I'm approaching her locker, I see Buddy standing there again. This time he has his twin brother standing off in the distance, and there's this other guy that's standing with his twin brother. I'm not paying no attention. I'm just looking like, this guy again. So it's kind of funny to me because I understand what the situation is now, but I'm like, well, I'm gonna go do my thing again just to kind of cut him off. And as I approach the guy, or approach the girl, or start to approach my girl, this kid kind of puts his arm out. He like, "Hey, yeah, 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 yeah. Hold on, right quick, champ. What you about to go talk to her? Yeah, you gonna have to wait for a second. My man over there talking to her right now." And I was like, "Man, nigga, what? Nigga, if you don't get the fuck out of my way." Then he was like, "Nah, I said my man's over there talking to her right now." And I'm like, "Man, I don't give a fuck what your man's doing. That's my shit." You know what I'm saying? So I kind of move his hand out the way, walk towards my girl, and he's looking kind of baffled, like, did this motherfucker just push my hand out the way? Is this motherfucker like not listening to what I'm saying? Like, they clearly don't understand like who I am. Like, I don't know who they are, but they also don't know who I am. So I go head up to the joint, and this time I'm a little bit more forceful with, "Hey, Slim, get your weird looking ass the fuck away from my girl, man, and don't bring your dumb ass back here to speak to her again." You know what I mean? So he kind of like, and he looks to his twin brother and the other guy, and he kind of goes over there to them looking confused, like he's not sure what's happening. Why am I standing right there while he's trying to talk to him after he had this conversation with you? And the guy kind of stands there looking at me like in disbelief that, I just carried it the way that I just carried it. And then he just kind of, nonchalantly steps off with the two twins, right? I get my girl and I'm like, "Yo, what the fuck?" I'm like, "Yo, are you saying something to like let him know you're not interested?" She like, "I don't have it in me to hurt that boy's feelings like that, but he's got to stop coming around me." I said, "Trust me, after what I just said to him, I doubt you're going to see him again." You know what I mean? He's not going to come try to talk to you again. Hold her hand, take her on to class, give her a hug, give her a kiss, go on about the rest of the day. Now, this guy, whoever he was, the one who tried to stop me from speaking to my girl while this little uh child or guy was trying to spit his best game. Like I said, he was a part of some neighborhood called Morningside, and they had their little crew in the school established. The leader was some guy named, at the time, some guy named Charles. And Charles, I don't know who Charles was. Like what gave him the position of leader of this little hood, but he was well respected among the people in his age bracket. Okay, so needless to say, me and my girl, we continue doing our thing for months. She's not having any more problems out of, the twin guy that has Down syndrome. She's not having any more problems out of this kid. He's not coming to her locker anymore, just like I expected. And every time I would walk past these guys in the hallway, because you're gonna walk past them in passing, they would kind of have this look like, they have a hard time holding their emotion, and then I would just kind of look at them with a, you know what I mean? Like, this is comical to me. Like, I already know you're not gonna do nothing. All of that built up anger, man, you're gonna end up fucking passing out from holding your breath so long. Like, just, You know what I mean? Just get over it, find another girl. So anyway, let's say school continues for quite some time because this is still during the same school year. And ultimately, what ends up happening, I end up meeting a guy. His name is Darnell. Darnell is actually my girlfriend Latoya's cousin. Now, I don't know if it's through blood or through marriage, but I remember her telling me, my cousin wants to meet you because he's trying to be a protective cousin to make sure nobody's trying to take advantage of his cousin. So he's trying to test me out and trying to figure out where, yeah, what's up, man? You talked to my cousin Latoya? I'm like, yeah, I do. Then he was like, yeah, where you from? Like that's the magic question. Like that determines anything, right? He's like, where you from? I'm like, yeah, I'm from Southeast DC. He's like, oh yeah? What neighborhood from Southeast you originally from? So when I tell him I'm originally from 10th place around the Willow Road side, he like, oh, okay. I know a couple dudes from Southeast, this and that and the third, blah, blah, blah. When we started seeing that we had certain knowledge in common, then me and Donnell became pretty cool. He was actually like, honestly, he might have been like my best friend in high school at that time. So there was my girlfriend, and then I happened to be best friends with her cousin, which just increased my bond with my girlfriend. The fact that I was accepted by her cousin, or you know what I mean, his test of approval was there. So anyway, me and Donnell become friends. He and I actually took health class together, so we would see each other every other day whenever the health class was, which was usually like towards the end of the after. It was like after lunch. And me and Donnell had the kind of like a similar sense of humor, things like that. So we became like really cool, like really cool, like that's my man's type cool. So anyway, the school year continues on. Everything is routine and copacetic and as is, right? But there has to be something coming when I start to tell you guys a story. So it turns out that the twins and whoever this other guy were that were from Morningside had reported what took place to Charles. Now, Charles and I had very limited passing. I could have walked past this guy hundreds of times before and I didn't know who he was simply because there was never an introduction made. There were never words exchanged, nothing like that. On this one day, there was gym class. Now, my gym class was the last period of the day, which is absolutely the best time to have gym class because it doesn't matter how dirty or sweaty you get. You can get on the bus, you go home, take a shower. You know what I mean? Like it's perfect, right? So gym was my last period of that particular day. We had two gym teachers, one black guy, one Caucasian guy. Now you guys know that during the last period of the day, a lot of people like to skip class. They like to cut class. They like to go find somewhere to hang out. Usually in this particular school it was the gym because the gym is large. It's got to be big enough for them to have pep rallies, homecoming stuff, basketball games, all that kind of stuff. So the gym is huge. All right, so a lot of people last period of the day like, man, we just gonna skip class, we're gonna go hang out in the gym. Now, like I said, there's two gym teachers. Now both of them is responsible for a different class. However, the other teacher doesn't really keep up with the opposite teacher's class, students, schedule, none of that. So he may not know who's supposed to be in there and who is not. And he's not even going to investigate it alone. He's only going to be accountable for who are the students in his period, right? Is what it was. On this particular day in gym class, there are a lot of people cutting class. Like a lot of people are cutting class. They're on the bleachers just talking, socializing with whoever it was that they wanted to catch up with before the end of the day. I'm in there. Donnell's in my class. Um, and we're playing. I think the gym teacher, he was kind of tied up doing something in his office, which was kind of toward the entrance of the gym, but behind the bleachers, there was like office space back there. So he was at his office. He's like, hey, look, we just gonna have free gym today. I'm gonna give you guys the basketballs, and you guys can just have free gym. Y'all can just get a court. Y'all can play basketball. So the courts, they're court basketball hoops at the opposite end of the basketball floor, but along the sides they have additional courts. So me and a couple other guys were playing on one of the side courts. Now on the opposite end of the court, on the half court portion, there were a group of guys playing on that court. So I'm playing ball. One of the guys who was a terrible shooter, by the way, shot up a J. That shit was it bricked, it bounced off the rim, and I went to go chase down the rebound. You know, while I'm chasing down the rebound, I ended up having to kind of cut through the half court that the other guys were playing on to get the ball. And everybody on that court was like, "Man, what the fuck is you doing, son? Why the fuck is you? Man, get the fuck out the way, man! You fucking up the game and this and that." And I'm like, "Man, nigga, chill out, man. I had to get the motherfucking ball." So that's when this guy's like, chill out. Man, nigga, who the fuck you talking to? Man, I whip your motherfucking ass in this joint. So I slammed the ball down. I said, nigga, you'll whip whose ass? Whose ass will you fucking whip in this joint, man? So I balled my fist up and I started stepping towards this guy. Now remember, I am a hothead at this age, okay? I'm from Southeast DC. It's nothing for me to pop off with you, smack you in your face real quick. It's that shit is nothing. That's light work to somebody from Southeast DC that's in my age bracket, okay? So I'm walking towards him with my fist balled up, and I noticed that the other guys that were on the court, they all kind of took a similar stance that I was taking, but they were kind of like in support of him, and they were kind of spread out all around me at this point, right? So I'm like, hold on. Gym teacher sees this. He comes out and he's like, look, fuck all this. Like, well, he didn't say fuck, but he's like, look, I don't know what the problem is, but I need to separate y'all two. He was like, y'all gonna stay here on the half court, this group. He was like, you, pointing to me, you and the rest of y'all go down there on the other half court. That way, y'all ain't gotta come in contact with each other anymore. So I'm thinking, all right, I mean, it makes sense to me. I wasn't worried about the situation anyway, for real. So we go down, my group and we go down to the other half court. That group, he and the other group, they stay down on the opposite half court, right? Donnell, who was in my gym class at the time, he's on crutches. I think Donnell played like football or something like that, or wrestled. Yeah, he wrestled, and he ended up like spraining his ankle, breaking his ankle, something that had to do with his ankle because he had his whole foot wrapped in like a cast for a set amount of time. He was on crutches, right, because he couldn't put any pressure on that particular foot. Donnell kind of uses crutches and comes onto the court, and he was like, "Hey, bro, you know who that was right there?" And I'm like, who? The Slim that was talking all the shit at the other end of the court? He like, yeah. He's like, Slim, that's that nigga Charles, from Morningside, bro. He was like, bro, man, that's not the nigga that you want to fuck with, bro. That nigga, he's known to like beat the shit out of some people in this joint, bro. Like I don't like, yeah, like they know who he is. Like he was like, yeah, you want to be real careful about getting into it with him because he, like I said, not only can he fight, but you seen how all them other dudes kind of, when you was talking to him, how them other dudes kind of came around. He's like, them the other dudes from his neighborhood, man. It ain't nothing for them niggas to jump somebody and like beat the shit out of somebody. He's like, so you want to be real careful mixing it up with this dude, right? And I'm like, it's Morningside. I'm like, Slim, I'm from Southeast DC. I don't know shit about Morningside, nigga, but where I'm from, nigga, I am forged in motherfucking fire. And I was like, it ain't you talking about Morningside, nigga. I didn't survive motherfucking Valley Green, Condon Terrace, Trenton Park, Congress Park, Lincoln Heights, Surfsome Quarters, Bury Farms. I'm like, nah, I ain't worried about no motherfucking Morningside, no nigga named Charles. Fuck this nigga. You know what I'm saying? If this nigga come at me again, you gonna see. Then he was like, man, I'm just trying to let you know because you my man. You want to be careful getting in the mix with this dude. So I'm like, man, whatever. So he kind of backs off of the court on his crutches because he can't play. And we continue to kind of, I think we were playing 21 or something like that. Next thing I know, gym teacher, he's gone back in his office because he's trying to do something. I think it had something to do with getting grades done, right? So Charles now realizes that the gym teacher's in there. He comes crossing down to our court. And he was like, hey, what's up? What's up, Slim? He said the gym teacher ain't out here now. What's all that shit you was talking down the other end of the court? And I'm like, nigga, what? And he was like, yeah, you had all that shit to say. Ain't nobody right here to grab us and separate us now. So I was like, man, hey, Slim, what the fuck you trying to do for real? What you trying to do for real? By this point, everybody in the gym, because there had to be at least, if I'm guessing, it had to be at least 80 students that were in the gym. Now, majority of them probably were cutting, but there had to be like 80 students in the gym sitting up on the bleachers. And I was like, man, Slim, look, what the fuck you trying to do, man? So I just walked up to the guy. Now we kind of standing in each other's face, you know what I mean? Heads lean forward, arms straight, fist balled up, doing all this jabbering and shit. I got tired of that shit. I just stole his ass. Boom. And when I hit him, I don't know where the motherfucking gym teacher came from, but he came out of nowhere. It was almost like this motherfucker just appeared and he grabbed Charles. Like when I hit Charles, his face went this way, right? Because I hit him with a right hook. His face went this way. Teacher grabs him, and as the teacher's grabbing him, he's trying to throw a right hook at my face. Now, as he throws this punch, the teacher grabs him and pulls him back just enough to where the punch kind of goes past my face. He totally missed that shit, right? And the teacher, grabbed him, yanked him up, took him back to the other side of the court. It's like, I told you, don't come down to this end of the court. Y'all need to stay separate. He's doing what I told him to do. He's down there. He ain't bothering you. Stay down here with your group. If you come back down here, I'm going to send you to the office to talk to the principal. All right. He should have did more than that, to be honest with you. But the fact of the matter is he was really trying to get something done, and he didn't really want to have to stop doing what he was doing to go through with that process. Okay. So anyway, he takes Charles back down there, and then he stays out there for a little bit of time. We go on about our business, hooping. Donnell comes on the court with his crutches, clack, 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 and he like, nigga, I just told you that you do not want to mix it up with that nigga, man. That nigga is like the dude from that neighborhood. He was like, Slim, how the fuck? He's like, yo, you crazy, nigga. You just stole this nigga in his face. I'm like, Slim, I already told you. I don't give a fuck who he is. I don't give a fuck where this nigga's from. I don't know nothing about that. I don't care to know nothing about that shit, nigga. I keep telling you, where I'm from, shit like that is not sliding, bro. Any nigga come up to me like that, like he got a problem, like he ready to go at it, it's almost a race to see who won't get punched in the face first. That's how it is where I'm from. He was like, yeah. Charles was like Debo, okay? Apparently, he was like Debo in Morningside amongst kids his age. This is what Donnell kept trying to reiterate to me, right? Again, I'm not listening. I don't want to hear none of that shit. Like, whatever, right? So he's kind of laughing at the fact that I just punched him, right? And he's like, nigga, you crazy. I'm telling you, now that you done that, it ain't nothing that's gonna stop this nigga from fighting you. And you gotta be careful, because when this nigga fights, the other niggas with him like to jump niggas. I'm trying to tell you. All right. So teacher steps off. He goes back into his office. Again, after a little bit of time has passed, he thinking, all right, they should have simmered down by now. I'm going back into the office. He goes back into his office. And while Donnell is still talking to me, because we still chopping it up, this and that and the other, I'm looking at Donnell, right? Because we're facing each other. He's standing right in front of me. And I see Donnell, the look on his face goes from like a casual to, and then he starts like using his crutches to try to back up really fast. It's ridiculous. It looks really ridiculous when you see somebody do that. But he's like going backwards on his crutches real fast, and he has this really concerned look on his face like he saw a ghost. So he was already looking at me in the face because we were talking. And when he did that, something said, there's something behind me that I don't know about. So I kind of looked out the corner of my left eye, started to turn my head this way, and I seen Charles down low to the ground with his fist cocked all the way back, like trying to creep up on me, right? I saw it out the corner of my eyes, and then I kind of turned around, and he knew he was caught. At this point, he stood up. And he was like, yeah, yeah, what's up? What's up now though? Since you try to swing up on a nigga, what's up now? What's good? And I'm looking around because I'm trying to make sure that the teacher is nowhere to be found. He's like, nah, the teacher ain't out here. He ain't gonna save you now. I'm about to crush your ass out this joint. What's up? What's up? Then I was like, kind of like pacing, right? I started pacing to my left because he and I are looking at each other, but we're perpendicular to the sides of the court. So I started pacing to my left. This was strategic. I started pacing to my left. And in turn, it forced him to start pacing to his left. So now we're kind of moving kind of like this. Now, once I get him here, this is where I wanted him to be positioned, where his back was facing the court and subsequently the wall that was a few feet behind the court. Then I was like, what's up then, nigga? We still doing all of this, all his head movement like, yeah, what's up, this and that and the third, blah, blah, blah. And he fucking, what he does next told me everything I needed to know. He pats his hands together and he holds his guards. It was weird. It was the way it looked like he had the hand that should have been used as his power hand. He kind of had it up high to protect the side of his face that I would be punching with my right hand. And but it was, and his hand, his jab hand was like down low, like in the middle of his torso. It looked like some backwards Philly shell type shit, right? So I'm like, man, this nigga, right? So as soon as he did that shit, like he was ready to wreck, I just charged towards him, lunged towards him, hit his ass with a right hook, a left hook, another right hook, and then another left hook. And he started like backing up because my forward pressure was so quick and unexpected. He was caught off guard. So he's going backwards, trying to avoid these shots, right? They're forcing him backwards, which is what I wanted them to do. And his back ends up hitting the wall. So now he can't go backwards anymore. His back being against the wall is the equivalent to me of his back being against the ropes or him being stuck in a corner. So once he's there, I just hit him with a left hook, a right hook, a left hook, and he's covering up. And then I throw a right uppercut. When I caught him with this right uppercut, I saw his head go up a little bit, and I could tell he was hurt. So he starts to try to figure out a way to escape. Now, obviously, if somebody's coming towards you with that kind of pressure, you're supposed to go to the side. If you know how to fight, you're supposed to sidestep one way, sidestep the other way, and counter. No, you never go straight backwards. That's how you can get knocked down or get knocked out. So he's going backwards, like I said. Once I hit him with this uppercut, I could tell it was a good punch because his body, his knees, his legs kind of buckled a little bit, right? So as I came again with another right hook, because I'm right-handed, I wanted to hit his ass with all the power I had, just to kind of make an example out of him. So I'm throwing this right hook, and when I threw it, he had the presence of mind. I'll give him credit for this. He had the presence of mind to that point go off to his left while using his hands to kind of push the right hook off to the side so it can give him an opening to get out. So when he did that, he started to go off to the left of the wall to try to get his footing, and I realized what he had done. So that's when I started sidestepping to the right, and I just loaded up another punch. As soon as I planted my right foot and got in position, I just loaded up another right hand and threw with all my might and fucking caught him like kind of like on the right side of his head. And when I did that, I remember him going back against the wall and kind of buckling again, right? Everybody in the gym at this point is like, oh shit, fight. And you know how when kids act as a fight is, all this big shit is taking place, right? So all the kids come down off the bleachers and they come surrounding us, mind you. There's only one gym teacher and he's in the office. He doesn't have any idea what is going on. So the kids are surrounding us and they're watching this fight take place. Average fight only lasts maybe about 20 seconds, but nah, we was getting it in, right? This was a wreck. This was a real wreck. So after I hit him with this right hook, Buddy finds he finally, he took the joint, and I kind of like, and this was my fault, kind of let off of the attack a little bit because at this point I thought this motherfucker was gonna fall. He did not fall. This motherfucker like kind of regained his composure, got his footing back together, and got his guards up. I charge into him again. I start swinging at him again. Right hook, left hooks. I'm just throwing all hooks and haymakers. Fuck a jab. I'm not throwing any light punches. Fuck a jab. I'm trying to break this motherfucker, right? So I'm throwing hooks, 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 right, left, hooks, all of this shit at him, right? So ultimately what happens is we end up on the opposite side of the gym from where the bleachers were because these set of bleachers were still pushed in. They weren't pulled out for you to sit on. They were still lined up and pushed in. We end up over there on those side of the bleachers, and we're standing there, and we're just going at it. We're throwing. He's throwing. His punches ain't really connecting because I'm really throwing. I'm putting a lot of mustard, no pun intended, behind a lot of the punches that I'm throwing at this guy. So his punches wasn't really connected because he had to figure out how he was going to deal with the power that was coming at him, right? And it gets to a point where I kind of felt like this dude was like trying to lull me into something, right? Because next thing I know, as I kind of came to a rest position to kind of see what he was about to do to figure out how I was going to counter it, this motherfucker, the way he was standing is what threw me off. Okay. Remember how I told you he was standing kind of like in a reverse Philly shell? This motherfucker ends up throwing, instead of the jab and then the hook, he throws the hook off of this left hand, which was up high, which looked incredibly awkward to me. He threw this left hook and the shit ended up hitting me square in the like kind of right in this area, nose, mouth. It kind of hit me square. If you guys know, if you get hit in your fucking nose in a fight, that is one of those areas that can make your eyes water. It can if you do it hard enough, it can end a fight. He throws a left hook, it hits me in this area, and it was a good fucking punch, bro. I remember when he hit me with this shit, like it snapped my head back, like, oh, and everything slowed down. It was kind of like, and I like kind of started kind of going backwards. All you just needed was somebody to yell timber. Like I'm going backwards, right? Very slowly. And as I'm going backwards, like I said, my head is snapped back. So I'm looking up at the ceiling, but I look down like this to kind of see where his position it is. And I can still see him like this, like finishing a punch, like, and it was like he knew that that was the punch that was supposed to end the fight, right? So as I'm going backwards and looking up at the ceiling, everything is slow, and I see his reaction like that, and then something hit me, and I was like, damn, I'd have been hit harder, much harder than this when I was in Southeast. That's the best punch this motherfucker got. And then everything kind of sped back up again. And I kind of stopped myself, kind of like at the 25% mark of falling. So I kind of might have been like this, kind of stopped myself. And then I came back forward with this menacing grin on my face, right? And then I looked at him and I was like, and people can't believe I did that shit. I was like, mm-mm. And when I did that, it crushed his confidence because I saw his face go from like he didn't know what the fuck was about to happen. The fact that I took that punch so well and was now taunting him, it threw him totally off. So now he's standing there, he's still got his fist balled up, but I could see that he's stuck. He's like in shock. So I know, press the attack. He doesn't know what's about to happen. And because that was the hardest punch the guy had hit me with throughout the whole fight, I didn't have any more respect for his power. So I didn't even put my guards back up. I kept my fist down by my side, balled up, and just kept walking into him, just throwing the hardest strikes I could throw at him. Hooks, only hooks and haymakers, just throwing, and everything I'm throwing, because he was stunned, he didn't have I guess his reactionary gap was off because he still was kind of shocked that how the fuck is he still standing after that punch? How is he even more so still coming towards me? I'm just throwing everything, all haymakers, right, left, and everything is hitting this motherfucker. Boom, boom, boom. And you can see him just kind of wobbling left. Every time I hit him, he would wobble in that direction, like, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, it got to a point where after the fifth or sixth one, his footwork, it just wasn't there no more. It was, I don't know what was holding this motherfucker up. It had to be sheer pride, okay, that was holding him up. Mind you, his whole neighborhood that were behind him on the other end of the court, they're standing here watching this shit. They want to get involved, but they can't get involved because there's so many other students there that are making sure that this fight remains fair. Well, I beat the dog shit out of this kid, man. After hitting him with all of those hooks, haymakers, no respect for anything that was going to be thrown back at me because he had just hit me with his best shot. By this point, the teacher has stepped out of his office and he notices, why is everybody crowded around there? And he looks and he sees me and Charles going at it, or really he saw me beating the shit out of Charles, right? He comes forcing his way through the crowd, moving people out of the way, and then he runs up and he grabs a hold of Charles. At the point that he grabbed a hold of Charles, I really think Charles was about to fall because he was literally like, you know what I mean? Then another kid who was in my second period art class, he was one of the upperclassmen. I believe he was a wrestler or a football player or both. He came and he grabbed me, and he grabbed me in such a way where he locked my arms in place, like to my sides, and picked me up and carried me toward the back of the court, right? Now, the punch that Charles had hit me with, my nose had started to bleed. It didn't start to bleed till after the fight, which was weird, but my nose had started to bleed. The teacher took Charles up out of there. My the guy that was carrying me, he finally sat me down, let my feet get planted on the ground, and I remember a drop of my blood had fallen out of my nose and made contact with his arm. And I remember when he let me go, he was like, "Young, you just whipped the shit out of that nigga, man. I mean, the way you was doing this hold up, that's nigga, your motherfucking blood, nigga, give me something to clean this blood off, give me something to clean this blood off, right?" So I'm standing there, while the rest of the kids are kind of looking like, "Yo, did you just see what he just did to this kid, Charles?" And I don't know why, but I had the presence of mind to reach into my pocket at that exact moment, pull out my aviator sunglasses, and put them motherfuckers on my face, and then cross my arms and stand there. And everybody went fucking crazy. "Oh, this nigga think he Johnny Cage, JC Cage, nigga, look at this nigga, oh," all that kind of shit, right? Anyway, the teacher takes Charles to the principal's office. They don't want me in there at the same time. After Charles is done in the principal's office, they take me to the principal's office, right? I get to the principal's office. Her name was Miss Cunningham. And she's like, You? You in my office again? And she's like, Yo, I don't know what is going on. You and that boy were fighting like junkyard dogs. Like, what? Do you know that that young man had to be rushed to the hospital because he had so many knots on his head? He needed to be treated for concussions. Y'all was fighting like dogs. She's like, I'm gonna have to do something about this. What happened? And I'm like, shit, he was trying to fight me. He kept coming towards me, talking shit, trying to fight me. And I just had to defend myself. And his face was the end result. And she was like, Oh, I got to do something about this because that fight was way too serious. That wasn't no regular fight. I'm going to have to suspend you. And I'm like, You got to suspend me for defending myself? Yes. I got suspended for 2 fucking weeks because she said that like that was like malicious wounding. I got suspended for 2 fucking weeks. I remember like, how are you gonna put me on suspension for 2 weeks? And she just kept trying to explain to me because of the severity of the beating. And I remember in my mind, I didn't do this in front of her. I remember in my mind when she said he had to go to the hospital, looking at my hands like, you know what I'm saying? I did that shit, like. But anyway, he got suspended too. I don't know if his suspension was as long as mine, but he did get suspended too. I got suspended for 2 weeks. I remember going home, um, and I remember my mother showing up, and she was like, "What happened?" Because they had obviously the school called her and told her I was being suspended for 2 weeks. She's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Man, some nigga kept trying me. He kept trying to fight me. I kept trying to avoid him, but he kept trying to fight me. I whipped his ass." And she was like, "Okay, but he started it." I'm like, "Yeah, I finished it." She's like, "Good." He's gonna keep messing with my. I don't know what the fuck these little boys thinking around here. Like, she knew that I'm gonna fight you and I'm gonna fucking fight you. Like, she already knew that. So, you know what I mean? I didn't get in trouble when I got home, but I was suspended for 2 weeks. 2 weeks is served. I come back to school. First thing when I come back to school, I end up running into Donnell. And Donnell was like, Yo, yeah, you did that shit. You just whipped that nigga's ass, but you my mans, I gotta let you know that nigga's gonna try to fight you again. And I was like, man, that nigga gonna get his ass whipped again. He's like, man, just be on the lookout because he's definitely gonna try to fight you again. After getting beat like that in front of dudes in his neighborhood too, in front of the whole school, everybody know he gonna try to fight you again. I'm like, look, it's whatever. It's gonna be the same outcome. So I go on about to go up to the second floor. This is where my girl is. I go up to the second floor. I make my way to her locker. She's standing there at the locker waiting for me. She's not even in her locker. She's just leaning against her locker, waiting for me, talking to one of her friends. She sees me coming, right? She has this big fucking grin on her face, like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you did that shit. Like, everybody in the school's been talking about that shit for the last couple of weeks. At first, people was talking about you like, oh, he's a clown, this yellow shirt, oh, these sunglasses. But after you did that shit to him, that dude of all, like, yeah, everybody know what's up. And that's my man, you know what I mean? So give her a hug, give her a kiss, usual routine, hold her hand, walk in the class, give her another hug, give her another kiss. And then I got to go downstairs to my locker, which is um towards the like I said, it's by the gym entrance, but it's behind it. So I go to my locker, get my books, start making my way to first period. Right as I'm walking to first period, remember I got to come down this hallway, this gauntlet of upperclassmen that are constantly hazing and harassing underclassmen. So as I'm walking through this gauntlet, I got my shades on, the same shades that I put on after I whipped Charles' ass. I got my shades on and I'm walking through this gauntlet. And as I'm coming through the gauntlet, you can hear these guys as I'm approaching. Look at this motherfucker right here, man. You four-eyed man. Look at these big bifocal glasses. Yo, funny looking this and that. They talking all this shit about all these. They do this every day, right? Talking all this shit about all these kids walking through. And then as I start to get closer, it comes down to like a whisper. I don't hear them talking about the kids that are like in front of me as I'm getting closer. So then I make contact with the gauntlet, like here. And as I'm making contact with the gauntlet, I'm just walking through because I just whipped Charles' ass, whoever the fuck Charles is or whatever his reputation is. I just took that shit. I got all the juice. So I'm standing a little bit taller. Chest is out farther. So it seems. I mean, I feel as though I was being the same person, but it definitely feels that way, right? So as I'm walking through this gauntlet, I get like almost to the end of it, right? And one of the dudes on my left, because there's always four of them on the left and three of them on the right. One of them on my left, he looks to the guy on the right and he's like, there the nigga go right there. So when he says that, I kind of look out the corner of my eye to see who said it. And then I turn and look out the other way to see who he's talking to. He's talking to the one that is always the most obnoxious, the one that does the most talking, the most laughing, the most instigating. He's talking to him. So that's the one that I couldn't stand. So when he said, there you go, right there, I turn and look at this guy. And this guy, he kind of standing there with his face like fist balled up and everything. And then when he realized that I looked at him, because I turned and looked at him and kind of pulled my glasses down just a little bit so they can be that eye contact, he just kind of turned and looked down at the floor and looked the other way. And then I put my glasses back up with a slight, like a little smug look on my face. And then they was like, man, nigga, you a bitch, man. You were talking all that shit all this time. The last 2 weeks, you talking about as soon as you see this nigga, you gonna crush this nigga skin because, man, you ain't even do shit, man. I don't even want to hear that shit no more. You be faking out this joint, you know what I mean? So now that they getting on him, I'm definitely feeling good about myself because whoever Charles was and however big his legend grew, the fact that I was the one to shut that shit down and kind of took over that legend, now everybody in the school, even those who had an issue with me before, are afraid to get into the mix with me because of what I did to him. And I guess whatever he had done to them in the past or what they thought he could do to them, I don't fucking know, right? Crazy, crazy like shit. So the rest of that school day progresses and it gets to be like the end of the day. So at the end of the day, it's time to go home. So I'm like, gonna go put all these books back in my fucking locker, take all of this shit out of my backpack that I don't need to take home. And as I'm approaching my locker, which I told you is by the gym, who do I see? I see Charles again. And Charles is standing there with three of his mans. Some of the same guys, at least two of them were the same guys that were in the gym the day that I beat all the shit out of them, right? So as I approach him and I see the nigga, I'm like, I'm not even waiting for him to say anything. I walk up to him and I'm like, yeah, what's up, Slim? Yeah, word around the school is that you talking about you trying to see me with the hands again or something like that. And I think he was baffled by the fact that I came up to him, right? That I didn't try to avoid him, that it was right in your shit. And it was like, yo, man, you know what, man? Man, fuck all that shit, man. We can squash that beef, man. We cool, man. We ain't even gotta do that shit again, right? I'm like, nigga, is you sure? Because nah, I don't, you know what I mean? That ain't the way I rock. If a nigga still talking about he gonna try to get at me again, I gotta make sure I come talk to that nigga first. I'm looking at the guys that are with him. They look just as shocked as he did at the fact that I approached them. Like, this this nigga bold as shit. You know what I mean? Like who the fuck? You know what I'm saying? This nigga is really like what he really about what he talking about, right? Yeah, we good, man. You know what I'm saying? We can squash that shit. It's all good, man. You know what I mean? He want to give me a dap and all of this shit. I'm like, yeah, you sure, nigga? Because anytime you want to, we can do that again. He like, nah, man, we good. So I'm like, yeah, all right. So I start walking backwards to move away from him, keeping my eyes on him until I get enough space. They never advanced forward. They looked like they didn't want no parts of it. Like it was truly over. And I went on about the rest of my day, got on a bus, went home, talked to my girl, and everything was, as it was. And now throughout the rest of the days of school, I can remember guys now, it wasn't Shades or Kumo D, motherfuckers calling me Johnny Cage. Motherfuckers in class like, yo, nigga, I seen what you did. I heard what you did to this nigga Charles, man. That shit was crazy, nigga. You the dude around this joint now. I didn't want to be the dude. I was simply being somebody from Southeast who was standing on business. Like, yeah, if we gotta do it with the hands, we gonna do it with the hands. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is a crazy, crazy story about how I humbled a high school bully and became a legend in the process. In fact, I'm pretty sure for those of you watching, if you have children that go to Gwynn Park, ask them about the ass beating that Johnny Cage gave to Charles Lynn and see if your children are still talking about it nearly 20 years later. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the real Rayhan. Once again, I tell real life stories about different experiences I've had throughout my life. If you guys enjoyed this story time here on the channel, do me a favor, smash the like button. It's located somewhere down here below. I want you guys to do me a favor and smash another button down there called the hype button. I'm not sure how it works, but I think it helps the video reach into the algorithm and reach other viewers who will find it engaging as well. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy my storytelling style, I do offer a channel ship membership. And speaking of that, let me get to that really quickly. The newest member, I want to give a shout out to the newest member of the channel, and I may pronounce this wrong. I want to say it's like K9-AC1 or something like that. If you're viewing this video, and I know you are, shout out to you. In regards to channel memberships though, I may have launched them prematurely. Okay. My channel is not big enough for me to make any of my content members only or early access at this time. Okay. So if you did sign up for a channel membership, I don't feel like I'm fulfilling my part and not posting any member exclusive content. So if you signed up for a membership, please do me a favor and cancel your membership. Do that upon hearing this. Okay, I need you to do that because I do not want you guys to be spending money on exclusive content that you're not receiving at this time. You know, when my channel gets bigger and I'm getting a ton of views and a ton of subscribers for the content that I'm putting out, at that time I will relaunch channel memberships, and then at that time is when I will want you guys to sign up, but not before then. Okay, I don't want you guys wasting your money until my channel grows, because we don't know how fast that's going to happen. So keep that money in your pocket until that time comes. All right. But that's all I'm gonna do for today, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, if you enjoyed this story time, smash the like button. I want to thank you for joining me on this wonderful afternoon. And if you found yourself entertained by that story, please do comment how you feel about certain situations that took place throughout that story and how you would have handled them, or whether you think I was wrong or right for the way I handled them. And as always, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace, peace.